So Scott, tell me how you even got into this building thing in the first place.
Well, I guess it came down to my desire for freedom and adventure. So I started off pretty young. I had my dad actually had me helping him all the time with anything that he could. And I had a cousin, Ewart, I called him Ole. And I spent a lot of time with him. And he was always doing everything. Like, he had a company that did exteriors, but man, renovations, additions, construction. And I just really enjoyed that the time was never really set, but you always worked long hours, and it was about having fun. So that was a big part for me. I was 16 when I actually started working for Ewart. And I showed up and he gave me keys to a truck and said, "There's the truck, there's the trailer you're gonna be hauling around." I'd had my license for maybe 5 months. And so it was just, there you go, Scott, you're a man. And I wasn't. That's for sure. He kind of introduced me to how you have to envision things. So this is the best part of you start with envisioning something. And then the first phase, of course, is you create it first in your mind and then second in reality. But to get it to reality, you need these. So I just love the idea of using my imagination. Yeah, you'd first envision this thing and you're thinking about how is it that I'm gonna get that done? And then you just start putting things together, and man, I just loved it. I couldn't wait to get to work, and it was just a huge part of my life. I loved going to work.
You know, aside from building homes, I know you have your own stuff around here, and what are you doing around here these days?
Well, I'm refinishing this old drill press, so I've just got it all oiled up, and then so that things move. But yeah, I've just taken off some of the rust and stuff. I'll get it all repainted and have an old drill press that is incredibly well built. So it's a hobby of mine, yes. We're just about to start harvesting stuff, so the garden's looking a little bit tired. That's because it's about to come out. These are all beets, and got some carrots. We've already harvested some of our other stuff, so yeah, I love it. School was never that important to me other than the social aspect, but I loved psychology, and unfortunately there was only 2 classes, grade 10 and grade 11, and it didn't go into grade 12. And I thought, man, I would love to become a psychologist. And so I started reading about it. It wasn't just traditional psychology things, but books like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, I go back to, and it's really more about your organizational skills, but it's how your mind works. The Power of the Subconscious Mind, great book. I go back and read that every once in a while. It's important to just keep refreshing some of those things to me, because if I understand how I work, I have a better understanding of how you work. But I had this drive. I really like construction. I really like being out there. Just finished this house, and so I'm in the skid steer right now. My life kind of took a bit of a turn, and I ended up moving right out of high school into marriage and having my first child. And so my dad sat me down and said, "Hey, Scott, construction is great, but it's up and down. Why don't you just get a job? And he worked for the phone company, and so he said, I can get you a job at the phone company, and it turned out it was the right thing to do. I worked there for 13 years, always having this desire to go and do the things that I really wanted to do. I was bored quickly, and so I'd take on any job that they offered, and away I'd go. And it was great because I learned a lot. I was promoted young, and they sent me on all kinds of courses. I became a project manager. I became a methods analyst. Those two things helped me a lot when it came to construction, because methods analyst, I was supposed to go and look at what people did and then see how I could improve on what they did. I wasn't a time management, it was methods. So I would ask, what's this form for, and where does it go? And then we'd follow it along the line, and it'd end up in a garbage can, basically, and nobody knew why they did it. But these are phones that I took out of houses. They were no longer working, and it was back in the 80s that would have happened, probably about 82, 83. So yeah, these phones worked forever. They're Bakelite, and yeah, the old rotary dial, which of course most people don't remember. But so I mentioned freedom and adventure in the very beginning, and what does that have to do with construction? Well, it was back in 1968. I was hit by a car. A friend and I were in a park, and the guy went through the park. He didn't mean to, but the road turned and he hit me. And as a result, I ended up spending a long time in the hospital. I was in a coma for over a week, and ended up in traction, which is kind of the way they used to do it back then. And I keep the crutches. I still have them on my wall. All right. Well, as I said, I keep these as a reminder. And it's a reminder about life, how short it is, how fragile it is. And before I got to use these, I spent 5 months in the hospital, in a hospital bed, and longing to go outside and have some freedom. And adventure, it made me just want to do everything that I could. And I loved James Bond movies when I got out, and him traveling around the world. And I thought, man, if I ever get to do that. And Elvis Presley going to Maui, or Hawaii, actually, it was on Oahu. But I wanted to live in Maui, and I did. I used to live there for 5 months in the winter. So freedom and adventure were a big deal, and it all stems from having no freedom, no adventure other than what I had in my mind. Then I became an office guy, a suit, and I started to realize that it wasn't really what I had thought of my life was going to be. And so about then, my cousin suggested that I build a house for my family. And so I bought a lot out in Cochrane, and I built my first house in 1991, 90 to 91. And I just loved it. It was like the biggest thrill I ever had. And then in 1992, the company, AGT, offered an early retirement package. Now, I was still very young, but man, to me, I heard the presentation, and we were all walking out to the parking lot, and I said to the guys, well, I'm taking it, I'm going. And everybody was shocked because I was young. I wasn't anywhere close to retirement. But I went and started a company, not home building at the time, but I built 2 houses and realized that's where my passion was. I gave that company to a buddy of mine, and he started doing it on his own. And then he ended up actually building houses too. And so finally the day came, that's it. I'm gonna do it. So I did, and then I had this, oh my God, I've got 3 kids and a wife at home, and freedom and adventure was definitely pushing me to do it. But I had this whole thing of, man, I gotta make this work for sure. And then I just happened to be coaching a developer's daughter in softball at the time. And he said, geez, Scott, why don't you come up into our development and start building houses? First of all, I want you to build a condo site though. And this condo site is my first foray into building a multi-unit. And wow, talk about thinking you're gonna go broke. It rained and rained. I had half of the units in and I couldn't get any funding. I had people living in them, but we hadn't registered yet. And so the lawyer held all the money. My cribber wasn't finished and he got in a fight and ended up in jail, and I was trying to track down somebody to finish it, pulling out my hair, almost broke my leg coming out of one of the units. Anyways, I got through it, but man, you want to talk about having a hard life. I was thinking I was having a hard one at that time. There you go. So I said, no way. That was way over my head. And anyways, I ended up building houses and 3 condo sites up there. He just said, you can do it, you could do it. He helped me out, and that was it. I was away. Well, it's 1995 now, and I'm building more homes. I've got a lot of stuff under my belt now, and we moved into 96, 97, and at that point, I was doing custom homes out on acreages. I was doing custom homes inside of Cochrane as well. We make it through Y2K, and here we are in 2000, and I am building out in Cochrane. I'm doing custom homes in Bearspaw, down in South Calgary, outside on Dunbow Road, and I get a call from a developer in Chestermere, and he asked me to come out there and do a show home there, and away we go. So now we're building in Cochrane and Chestermere and the surrounding areas. We're doing some infills in Calgary, and we just keep expanding. 2005, we were going really hard, and my son was running the business basically, and I would come in and oversee certain things. And then about 2007, I started to think, wow, the price of homes have doubled in 5-6 months. And I just started thinking, man, this is a scary time. Here I am, I'm in Maui, I'm sitting by the pool reading, and a few lounge chairs down from me is 2 women talking about things. And I wasn't really paying any attention, and then suddenly, it was as though they were talking right in my ear. And the conversation was, you just can't lose. We're buying 2, we're doing this, we're doing that. And I thought, wow, that message means something. And I closed my book, I went upstairs, I made some decisions on some financial stuff I was doing, and that was the last piece of the puzzle I needed to say enough's enough. And it goes back to an old story about Mr. Rockefeller being taken by a cab driver somewhere. It's probably not true, but anyways. And the cab driver starts giving him stock tips. And when that happens, it just is a foretelling that maybe things are a little too heated. So that was my decision to get out. And then 2008, 2009 came, and the housing bubble blew, and I was blessed to have received a message that it was a good time to sit on the sidelines. So I decided to retire for a bit, and that's what I did. I just kind of pulled my reins in and watched to see what was going to happen. It's funny because you always think the world's going to come to an end, and then it just starts up again. Here I am. I'm retired, spending time in Maui, and I have this flashback to 2002. 2002, I built a house for a guy who was the rep for Giant and Gary Fisher, and I got a couple bikes off of him and started to ride, but not very much. And then in around 2004, I was kind of entering semi-retirement. I wasn't doing that much, and I thought, what am I gonna do? I'm still young, do a little golfing, but man, I had to do something else. And that's when I decided I was gonna start racing triathlon. And so anyways, I got another bike from him. Oh, well, here's a few of my bikes that I've raced with over the years. So this is a TT bike, used it for triathlon, but I've used these in triathlons too, depending on the course. If it's really hilly, sometimes it's nicer to have a road bike than a TT bike. TT bikes are a little heavier, and road bikes are light and great for climbing. So, and that's when I started riding, and I just fell in love. It's when I started really riding, because it was road bikes, not just mountain bikes. And I enjoyed that for years. I traveled around to race, but I raced every race I could in Maui one year. So every race that came, I raced it. A lot were running. There was a few that were kind of cycling races, but so I bought this in 2005. It was when I was getting into retirement, never really out of it, because I started doing some land development and different things, and I used this to build roads and ponds, and I still couldn't fully not do anything. I was pretty young, and so this machine is still one of my favorites. Love it. Here we are, 2019, got some equipment. I've always wanted to do landscaping. I always did all my own. I built ponds, I did all kinds of things, just loved it. We're into fall now, so of course things are starting to die off, but yeah, I built all these retaining walls, and we got a nice pond with some waterfalls, little path out to the back. And so I started doing that and working around the city and out in the country. And then I used to have people ask me on occasion, hey, will you build a house? Are you doing it again? And I really wasn't in that mindset. And then after a couple of years, I was doing some work for somebody, and they asked me if I could build a house for somebody. And that was around 2022. And I thought, man, why not? I mentioned in the past that I was going to get back into building in 2020, and it's 2024, and people were asking, are you going to be building? And here's one that the people just took possession in the community of Collingwood in Calgary. My machine's still here. We just finished doing some final landscaping for them to have a place to put some grass down. And here's a throwback. I did another patio on the front. If you remember my show home in Cochrane way back when, patio. And something even crazier, the house across the street I built back in in 2000. So as soon as I got started on that house, I knew I had to go back into this. This is such a thrill. Present day, here we are. I'm back doing it. I was fortunate enough to be invited by a developer into their subdivision, Lakewood in Strathmore, Alberta. I'm really excited about the adventure and the freedom to build homes again. It's something that is a true passion, so I hope to see you out there.